"I think you need a hug." "Can I hug you?" said the little girl to the young, homeless woman at the church steps. She didn't know that hug would change two lives forever. The snow had begun to fall again, soft and slow, like someone gently shaking powdered sugar over the rooftops of the city. It coated the cobblestones of Old Main Street and settled atop the benches outside street. Providence Church, through tall stained glass windows, golden light spilled onto the steps, flickering like candlelight. Somewhere within, the bells began to chime, 12 slow, sonorous notes. Christmas Eve service was about to begin. From the bake stand tucked behind the chapel, the scent of cinnamon, nutmeg, and hot cocoa wafted into the night. Faint singing drifted from inside, perhaps a choir in rehearsal. There was music, warmth, and laughter all around, but not for her. Maren Whitlock sat hunched on the cold stone steps beneath the church doors. Her coat was too thin for winter, and her scarf, damp and unraveling, clung to her neck. A battered suitcase sat beside her, the handle wrapped in duct tape. Her hands, raw from wind and cold, clutched a pen and a folded piece of paper. She was still writing, though the ink was fading and the lines were uneven. "Dear Mom," she whispered as she scribbled, "I'm trying, but I'm tired, so tired." A tear slipped down her cheek, landing near the edge of the letter. She wiped it away quickly, but more followed. Her blonde hair blew across her face in the wind, revealing gaunt cheeks and weary eyes that seemed too hollow for someone so young. She folded the letter with care and held it to her chest. In her other hand, she gripped an old photo, two women smiling beside a piano. One was laughing, radiant, full of life. The other, older, eyes kind and proud. Maren barely recognized herself anymore. Footsteps crunched through snow nearby. Sebastian Hale approached with steady strides. He wore a black wool coat, tailored and sharp, and gloves that matched. Tall and composed, he looked every bit the executive. But his face, handsome, yes, carried a shadow, something unresolved tucked into the corners of his expression. His daughter, Lila, skipped beside him in a rose-pink coat, her mittens swinging. As they reached the base of the steps, Sebastian's eyes caught the figure curled near the doors. Instinctively, he held Lila's hand tighter. "Stay close," he murmured. But Lila stopped walking. She stared up at the woman sitting alone, her head tilting slightly as if trying to understand something deeper. "Daddy," she said, "that lady looks really, really sad." Sebastian hesitated. "Sweetheart, come on. It's cold. We'll be late." But Lila didn't move. She let go of his hand. "Lila," he said quietly, warningly. Before he could reach for her, she was already walking toward the woman. Sebastian froze. Boots crunching gently in the snow, Lila climbed a few of the stairs and paused in front of Maren. The woman hadn't seen her yet, until she did. Maren looked up, startled. A small girl stood there, pink coat dusted with snowflakes, eyes round and full of something ancient and kind. She stared at Maren like she wasn't a stranger, but someone important, someone worth noticing. Maren's throat tightened. Lila took one step closer. She opened her arms, careful, as if offering something sacred. "I think," Lila said softly, "you need a hug. Can I hug you?" Maren blinked. Her breath caught. She hadn't been touched kindly in so long, hadn't felt safe, seen, wanted. And now, this small child, without question or judgment, was reaching out to her. Sebastian stood back, watching in stunned silence. Maren looked down, then back up. She couldn't speak, but her eyes filled, and she gave a tiny, trembling nod. And Lila stepped forward, wrapping her arms around her as if she'd known her forever. Maren's lips parted, her breath catching in her throat. She looked at the little girl standing in front of her, arms still wide open, eyes shimmering beneath the falling snow. Her hands trembled, not just from the cold now, but from something deeper, disbelief, vulnerability, and an aching hunger for comfort. She hadn't been touched in so long, hadn't been seen. Her voice came out cracked and barely audible. Why would you want to hug me?" Lila tilted her head slightly, her mittens tucked under her chin as she answered with the kind of sincerity only a child could carry. "Because your eyes look like they forgot how to be happy." Maren blinked hard, stunned. The snowflakes clung to her lashes. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe for a moment. And then, Lila didn't wait. She stepped forward and wrapped her small arms around Maren's hunched shoulders. It was a soft, warm, slightly awkward embrace, but it was real, it was whole. It didn't come from pity. It didn't come from fear. It came from a place Maren thought no longer existed in the world. Maren froze at first. Then slowly, so slowly, she leaned into it. Her chin dropped to the little girl's shoulder. Her hands, shaking, lifted and hovered mid-air before clutching Lila's back with careful desperation. The dam inside her burst. There was no sound, just the kind of crying that made your body fold in on itself. Her chest shook as the tears came fast and hot, disappearing into Lila's coat. Months of silence, hunger, grief, loneliness, all of it poured out in that tiny, miraculous embrace. Sebastian watched from a few feet away. He hadn't moved, but his expression had changed. His brows softened, his jaw clenched, then released. The wall he had carefully built inside himself, the one made of routines, meetings, and holding it together for his daughter, shifted slightly. After a long moment, he stepped forward. Quietly, without drawing attention to himself, he pulled the cashmere scarf from around his neck, gray, thick, still warm. As Maren cried into his daughter's coat, Sebastian knelt behind her and gently draped the scarf over her shoulders. He didn't speak, he didn't explain. He simply placed it with care and stepped back. Maren felt the weight of the scarf settle over her like a blanket. The scent of it, clean, faintly like cedar, wrapped around her. She turned her head and looked up at him, eyes glossy and wide. Her voice, raw and hoarse, barely made it out. "I haven't been hugged in months." Lila, still hugging her, gave her a light squeeze. "Daddy says crying helps the sad come out, so happy can come back in." That made Maren let out a broken laugh through her tears. The sound surprised even her. Sebastian knelt down, meeting her eyes, not as a CEO, not as someone with status, but as a man who had lost something too. He spoke gently, without pressure. "There's hot cocoa inside the church. Come with us, just to get warm." Maren hesitated. She looked at the open door beyond them, where light glowed golden and the sound of soft carols echoed through the hallway. "I don't want to be a burden," she said quietly. Sebastian shook his head. "You're not, you're just cold. And we have cocoa, that's enough." There was something in his voice, not insistence, not obligation, just truth. Maren didn't answer right away. But Lila reached out again, this time taking her hand. Her tiny fingers wrapped around Maren's in trust, and that was enough. Together, they stood. Sebastian walked ahead and pushed open the old wooden door. The warm light from inside spilled across the snow-covered steps. As the three of them stepped inside, the wind swept across the stone landing behind them. On the step where Maren had been sitting, a folded piece of paper fluttered to the ground, the letter she had written to her mother. Snow fell over it slowly, gently covering it until only white remained. The room smelled faintly of cedarwood and cinnamon. A small fire crackled in the stone hearth, its warmth softening the silence. Shadows from the stained glass windows painted amber and crimson on the wooden floor. Maren sat beside a small table, hands wrapped around a steaming cup of cocoa. The heat seeped slowly into her fingers, thawing something deeper than just her skin. Beside her, Lila sat so close their coats touched. The little girl's small hand rested gently over Maren's. Across the room, Sebastian stood near a tall, arched window. He held a cup, but hadn't sipped. His dark, thoughtful eyes lingered, not demanding, not prying, just waiting. Maren let out a breath that trembled. Then, a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Your little girl," she said softly, voice catching. She touched something in me I thought was gone. Sebastian didn't answer. He simply waited. Lila turned toward Marin, gaze open, expectant. She didn't speak, but her eyes said clearly, "I'm here, tell me." Marin blinked slowly. Then she began. "My mom was everything. It was just the two of us. She raised me on music and kindness. We didn't have much, but it was enough." Her voice dropped lower. "She got sick. Pancreatic cancer. Aggressive. I took leave from the school where I taught music. Thought I'd be back in a few weeks." She paused, staring into the cup. "But it got worse fast. I used up all my leave, then quit. I couldn't leave her alone." Her hands clenched in her lap. "After she passed, I had nothing. No job, no income. I tried, but the rent, the bills, I couldn't keep up. I sold my piano first, then my car, then the apartment." From her pocket, she pulled out a silver chain with a treble clef pendant, dull with age, but still intact. "She gave me this when I was 12, Marin said, holding it up for Lila. "Said music was the only language the heart always understands, even when the mouth can't speak." Lila leaned closer, her breath soft. She gently brushed the pendant with her mittened fingers. "Is this from your mommy?" she asked. Marin nodded, voice trembling. "Yes, it's the only thing I couldn't let go." Without a word, Lila leaned sideways and rested her head against Marin's shoulder. Her little hand wrapped around Marin's wrist. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Sebastian watched. Something in his chest shifted, an ache he hadn't felt in a long time. Slowly, he stepped forward and lowered himself into the chair across from them. He looked at the fire, then finally spoke. "I lost my wife 2 years ago. Car accident. She was coming home from picking up cupcakes for Lila's birthday." Marin lifted her gaze, her expression softening. "She never made it back," Sebastian continued. "One minute we were texting about dinner. The next, I was explaining to a 5-year-old that mommy wasn't coming home." He looked at Lila. She didn't speak for almost 3 months. No smile, no songs, no bedtime questions, just silence. Marin turned to Lila, surprised. "You?" Lila gave a small nod. "But Daddy never gave up," she whispered. Sebastian smiled faintly at his daughter. Then he turned back to Marin. "You asked what I did to get through it," he said. Marin nodded. "I didn't," he said simply. "I just learned how to carry it. Some days are heavier than others." But Lila, she started smiling again, then humming, then singing. He paused. She found her way back to joy, and somehow in doing that she pulled me out too. The room settled into quiet again, but it was no longer hollow. It was warm, filled with memory, ache, and understanding. 3 people. A snowy night. No pity. No charity. Only quiet recognition. Marin looked at the necklace in her hand. Maybe music really is the only language that still works, even after loss. Sebastian nodded slowly. Maybe it is. The sanctuary had quieted. The echoes of hymns still lingered beneath the arched ceilings, but the pews were emptying now, boots scuffing softly over the stone floors as families bundled into coats and scarves, heading out into the cold. The Christmas Eve service had ended, and warmth gave way to flickering candles and quiet goodbyes. In the adjoining hall, gentle chatter filled the space where long tables were set with cocoa, cinnamon bread, and bowls of steaming soup. The scent of toasted bread and nutmeg hung in the air as volunteers moved between guests. Marin stood near the doorway, uncertain. Her fingers, raw from the cold, tightened around the scarf looped over her shoulders. She was already turning to leave, fade into the background like always, when a small hand tugged gently at her coat. "There's cocoa and cinnamon bread," Leela beamed. "And you'll sit with us, right?" Marin hesitated. Her instinct was always retreat. But Lila had already taken her hand, small, warm, certain, and was leading her into the room as if it were the most natural thing in the world. They passed folding chairs, holiday napkins, and soft lights strung around windows. Lila guided her to a table near the fire. Sebastian stood waiting, a pair of cocoa cups in hand. His coat hung neatly on the chair behind him. Maren reached to pull out her seat, and Sebastian noticed the way her fingers trembled. Wordlessly, he removed his charcoal gray gloves and offered them. She looked at them, then at him. He didn't press, just smiled gently. "I'll be fine. My coat has big pockets." She accepted them. They were warm and lined with soft wool. She slipped them on slowly, the heat crawling into her fingers like a forgotten kindness. A moment later, he set a plate before her, thick cinnamon toast, warm and buttered, and a cocoa cup topped with melting marshmallows. She stared. "If we're sharing warmth," he said, "we should share calories too." A soft laugh escaped her, surprised, breathless, real. They sat together in quiet company. Lila hummed softly, dipping her toast in cocoa. After a moment, Maren spoke. "I taught music," she said. "Elementary school, nothing glamorous, but I loved it." Sebastian nodded. "I left when my mom got sick, pancreatic cancer. I thought it would be temporary." She sipped the cocoa. Her hands were steadier now. "But it happened fast. I used all my leave, then I quit. I couldn't leave her alone." She looked down, voice softer. "After she died, I had nothing, no savings, no help. I tried, but I lost the apartment, the car. I sold my piano." Sebastian said nothing, but she felt him listening. "I've been sleeping out back behind the east steps," she added quietly. "Third night. It's not the worst spot. The stone breaks the wind." Lila had been quiet, but now she set her toast down, eyes steady. She turned to her dad. "Daddy, can she come with us? Just for tonight? She's cold." Sebastian blinked, glancing between them. "Lila," he began, cautious, "it's not that simple." But Maren cut in, gently. "It's okay. I understand." Lila held her hand tighter. "But it's Christmas," she whispered. "Mommy would want us to help." The moment settled, brief, still. Sebastian sat back, then stood, picking up his coat and keys. "It's a 20-minute drive," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "There's a guest room, with heat." He paused, meeting Maren's gaze. "One night, no pressure. Just come, be warm." She looked down at the gloves, then to Lila, then back to Sebastian. Her nod came slow, tentative, but real. She didn't say yes because she wasn't scared, but because, for once, she wanted to believe. Outside, snow drifted under streetlights. The headlights of Sebastian's car lit the mist as the three of them walked across the lot. Maren wore his coat now, sleeves trailing her hands. Lila held one tightly, skipping slightly beside her. It was the first time in months Maren walked toward something, instead of away. The SUV rolled gently into the driveway, headlights casting long beams across the snowy lawn. The house wasn't grand, not what one might expect from a man like Sebastian Hale. There were no towering gates or marble pillars. Instead, it welcomed. A two-story Scandinavian-style home glowed from within like a lantern. Clean lines, black steel-framed windows, warm light spilled from the living room. A modest pine tree in the front yard stood decorated in silver bells and pink ribbons, clearly touched by small hands. Lila bounced in her seat. "We put it up last weekend. Daddy, let me pick the lights." Maren gazed through the window, breath fogging the glass. Something stirred, not envy, not longing, wonder, maybe. Sebastian parked and stepped out. He opened the back door for Lila. Maren followed them onto the porch, holding the borrowed coat tighter. Inside, the air smelled faintly of rosemary and pine. Wooden floors were softened with woven rugs, A taller tree stood in the corner, glowing with white lights and delicate glass ornaments. But Marin noticed the little things. A tiny pink backpack on a chair, a tea set in the reading nook, a framed photo of Sebastian's late wife, mid-laugh in summer light. "This is our living room," Lila said proudly. "That's Mommy's chair, and that's Mr. Button's." She pointed to a pale pink teddy bear curled up on the couch. "He's very protective." Marin smiled, quiet. Sebastian cleared his throat. "Bathroom's down the hall. I left a towel and something you can change into." In the guest bathroom, warm steam fogged the mirror. On the counter sat a folded robe and soft pajamas. A small handwritten note lay beside them. They were hers, but she'd want someone who needs comfort to have them. Marin's breath caught. She touched the fabric, pressing it briefly to her chest. She didn't cry, but only because the warmth rising in her chest held her steady. Dinner was peaceful. Sebastian moved around the kitchen with a quiet ease. Boiled pasta tossed in oil, a fresh salad, and garlic bread still warm from the oven. Simple, but everything tasted intentional. Lila pulled out a chair. "This one's for you, Marin. Next to me." They sat together. No loud conversations, just the soft clink of silverware, cocoa steam, and occasional giggles when Lila got salad on her chin. After dinner, Lila suddenly leapt up. "Daddy, can she see the piano? Please." "Mommy's piano?" Sebastian paused, then nodded. It stood against the far wall. Black, upright, polished. A string of white lights draped across the top. Lila tugged on Marin's sleeve. "Play something, please?" Marin hesitated, her fingers flexed. How long had it been? But Lila's eyes were hopeful, full. Marin sat, let her hands hover, then played the first note, then another. And slowly, gently, silent night filled the room. Her touch was careful, reverent, like the music had waited years to be heard again. Sebastian stood just behind her, a hand resting lightly on the back of a chair. He said nothing, but he watched every note. When the song ended, the silence held like an embrace. Later, as Marin gathered her things from the couch, she turned. "I can sleep here," she offered. "The sofa's fine. I don't want to be in the way." Sebastian stopped her gently. "There's a guest room upstairs, warm, safe. Yours, if you want." Marin hesitated, arms crossed, uncertain. "I can't stay. I'll disrupt your life." Sebastian's voice was low. "Sure. Your presence didn't disrupt anything tonight." For the first time in 2 years, the house didn't feel lonely. She met his eyes. He didn't look away. "If you're willing, you could stay longer. I need someone to help pick Lila up. Maybe teach her music. I can pay you, and the room upstairs is yours." Marin's lips parted. "Why me?" she asked. "Why trust someone with nothing?" His answer was simple. "Because my daughter hugged you first, and she's never wrong about people." Marin didn't speak. Her throat tightened, but her eyes shimmered. And this time, hope didn't feel cruel. It felt possible. The guest room had once been little more than a storage space, neatly kept, but unused. Now, it began to breathe. Marin moved with quiet care. She opened the windows, dusted the nightstand, and placed a photo on it, her and her mother, smiling over hot chocolate one Christmas years ago. She didn't have much else. But for the first time in a long while, the space didn't feel borrowed. It felt safe. Her long blonde hair, now clean and soft, was pulled back into a simple braid, a small change, but telling she wasn't hiding anymore. Her eyes had shifted too. Not all the sorrow was gone, but the blankness, the hollow drift, had started to lift. In its place, presence. Each afternoon, Marin picked Lila up from school. The girl would run to her, beaming, backpack bouncing. They'd walk home talking about spelling bees, cafeteria gossip, and snowflake crafts. At home, they sat at the piano. Marin guided Lila's small fingers over the keys, teaching note names and making up rhymes for scales. They sang Christmas songs, some off-key, some too loud, but always laughing. One afternoon, they baked sugar cookies. Flour dusted the counters. Lila had icing on her forehead. Marin flicked powdered sugar at her. Lila shrieked with joy. When Sebastian came in from a call, Lila waved a doughy hand. "Look, we made snowmen. Mine has a crooked hat." Marin, face streaked with flour, burst into genuine laughter. That night, reading a story about forest foxes and snowy spells, Marin felt Lila curl against her, tiny hand wrapped around her wrist. At the doorway, Sebastian paused. He didn't speak, but his eyes softened. He didn't see a guest anymore. He saw peace. He saw home. Sebastian never made declarations. He wasn't a man of grand displays, but kindness lived in his details. He had the old piano tuned, not because she asked, but because he noticed the dissonance. One morning, Marin found a pair of soft, fur-lined slippers outside her door, gray with warm insoles. No note, just there, thoughtful. The light in her room had flickered for nights. One evening, she returned to find it fixed, and in the kitchen, beside the mugs, sat a box of chamomile tea. A small, sticky note read, "For when the nights feel heavy." She stared at it for a long time, didn't touch it. That night, when the house was quiet and stars blinked beyond the window, she brewed a cup. Her shoulders eased, just slightly. They became a family before anyone used the word. Dinner wasn't just food, it was shared time. Lila talked endlessly. Marin told stories from her teaching days. Sebastian listened, added dry humor, and refilled water without being asked. Some nights were pasta, some grilled cheese, others, pizza on the living room floor when time ran short or Lila begged sweetly. Lila laughed more, Marin smiled more, Sebastian listened more. It wasn't perfect, but it was whole. One evening, as snow floated down like feathers, Marin sat at the piano. Her fingers moved softly across the keys. The fire popped behind her. Sebastian entered, still in his navy jacket from a late meeting. He didn't speak, just leaned against the doorway. The floor lamp cast a soft glow over her golden hair. The notes weren't a song, just sound, feeling, breath. After a moment he said, "I forgot how music felt, until you came." Marin turned to look at him. She didn't smile. She didn't look away. They said nothing else. The silence was full, not of absence, but of something beginning. Then Lila called from upstairs. The moment passed, light as snow. That night, they sat by the window, wrapped in soft throws, watching snow drift across the yard. Lila nestled between them, head resting on Marin's shoulder. No one needed to say it. But beneath the quiet, beneath the lights and hush of winter, they were already a family. The snow was falling gently, fine, glimmering flakes that danced beneath the glow of string lights lining the rooftops. The whole neighborhood had gathered that Christmas Eve for the annual holiday performance on Maple Row, a tradition that filled the air with cocoa, music, and something warmer than fire. On a small wooden stage nestled between two lampposts, Lila stood in her pink coat and sparkly scarf, her cheeks flushed from the cold. Her mittened hand gripped the microphone. Behind her, a makeshift cardboard backdrop of snowflakes and stars swayed gently in the breeze. Marin knelt beside her moments before the music started. "You know what to do, sweet pea," she whispered. "Sing from your heart." Lila nodded solemnly, then turned to face the crowd. The music began, a simple piano backing track, and Lila's voice, though small, rang out clear and bright with "Away in a Manger." The audience hushed. It wasn't the notes or perfection, it was the sincerity, the innocence. Halfway through, the crowd began to smile. Then a few people clapped along, softly, encouraging her. When the song ended, the street erupted in applause. Lila's eyes lit up. She looked out at the sea of faces, then immediately ran off stage toward Marin. "We did it," she cried, throwing her arms around her waist. "We really did it." Marin laughed, scooping her up, spinning slightly. The sound of it, pure, unguarded laughter, hit Sebastian like a quiet wave. He stood a few feet away, hands in the pockets of his coat, watching them with something deeper than pride in his eyes. Something he hadn't let himself feel in a very long time. Later that night, after cocoa had been sipped and carols sung and sleepy children bundled into coats, Sebastian and Marin stood alone in the front yard. The lights inside the house glowed softly behind them. Snow dusted their shoulders. The street had quieted to a hush. They didn't speak at first. Marin wrapped her arms around herself, watching her breath cloud the air. Sebastian stood beside her, still, thoughtful. Then he took a slow breath. "I'm scared," he said. She turned slightly, eyes meeting his. He continued, his voice low and steady. "Because caring about someone again feels dangerous." Marin swallowed hard. "I'm scared too," she said. "Because I haven't felt safe like this in years, and I don't know what to do with that." The silence between them pulsed like a heartbeat. Sebastian stepped closer. "But losing you," he paused, searching her face, "scares me more than loving again." Marin's breath caught. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. He reached up, brushing a snowflake from her hair. The gesture was so gentle it made her eyes sting. They stood like that for a long moment, close, unsure, open. And then, as the snow fell softly around them, he leaned in. Their lips met in a kiss that was tender, slow, full of hesitance and release all at once. It wasn't a kiss that claimed or demanded, it was one that asked permission and was answered. When they pulled apart, Marin's eyes were glistening. Sebastian didn't speak. He didn't need to. From behind the frosted living room window, a sudden voice pierced the silence. "Daddy kissed Marin. I knew it. My hug is magic." They both turned, startled, then burst out laughing. Lila's little face was pressed to the glass, her hand smudging the window, a giant grin lighting her whole face. Sebastian shook his head, still laughing. "I guess we've been caught." Marin smiled through a tear, brushing it away quickly. "Apparently we've been set up." They stood there a little longer, side by side, the snow gathering at their feet. For the first time, there were no walls left between them, no fear that love would break them again. Only the truth that maybe, just maybe, it was the very thing that would heal them both. 6 months later, the house no longer felt like just walls and a roof. It was a home. Not because of fresh paint or new furniture, though a few framed photos had started appearing on the walls. It was the routines, the shared breakfasts, the bedtime songs, the warmth that lingered in the corners long after the lights were off. Marin had become part of it. She now worked part-time as a music assistant at Lila's school. Most afternoons, her gentle voice floated from the open windows, leading children in silly songs about frogs, seasons, or the alphabet in harmony. She walked home with Lila nearly every day, their hands linked, their conversation full of playground stories and music class adventures. She'd moved out of the guest room. At Sebastian's soft suggestion, her new room was just across the hall from Lila's, making it easier for midnight comforts and early morning whispers. Evenings settled into rhythm. They had dinner together most nights, always at the same kitchen table. Marin often cooked. Lila loved setting the table, folding napkins into triangles. Sebastian, though still running his company, had made a promise to silence his phone until after dessert. He kept it, and he laughed more now. He listened. He asked about Lila's songs and Marin's choir kids. Sometimes he even offered to do the dishes. Life didn't slow down, it just deepened. Then one evening, just after the sun dipped behind the Portland skyline, they returned to the place where it all began, the steps of Street Providence. Marin paused at the base of the stairs. The evening light painted the stained glass windows in honey and rose. Her heart fluttered. "I haven't been back here," she whispered. Sebastian nodded beside her. No suit, no tie, just a white shirt and sleeves rolled. Just him. "I know," he said quietly. Then he turned to her. "Maren Whitlock," he began, voice low but full. "You came into my life when I didn't even realize I needed to be saved." She blinked. A smile tugged at her mouth, trembling. He knelt. "Stay with us. Forever?" Maren's breath caught. She couldn't speak right away. Her eyes filled. She finally managed. "A little girl in a pink coat saved my life with one hug." She looked toward the sidewalk, where Lila waited with wide eyes and clasped hands. "And her father gave me a place to heal." Sebastian rose and slipped the gold band onto her finger. Maren leaned in, and their kiss was laughter and tears and everything in between. From the sidewalk, Lila sprinted toward them and threw herself into their legs. "I told you," she shouted, squeezing them tightly. "Hugs fix everything." Later that night, they sat on the porch, just the three of them. Lila had dozed off, her head on Maren's lap. Stars blinked above, quiet and bright. Sebastian looked at the sky, then over at Maren. "You ever wonder what would have happened if she hadn't said anything that night?" Maren brushed a lock of hair from Lila's brow. "Every day." He glanced over again. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Letting us in?" She met his gaze and smiled, not the hesitant smile from before, a real one, calm, full. "No," she whispered. "You didn't just give me a place to sleep, you gave me somewhere to begin again." Sebastian reached out and took her hand. They sat in silence. In that quiet was everything they had faced, and everything still to come. And if you're out there tonight, sitting on a cold bench, thinking no one sees you, believe this: kindness can find you when you least expect it. And sometimes, it arrives in the form of a little girl asking, "Can I hug you?" Thank you for watching this soul-stirring story, a reminder that healing often begins with the smallest act of kindness, like a hug from a child on a snowy night. If this story touched your heart, made you smile, or brought a tear to your eye, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the hype button to support Soul Stirring Stories channel. We believe in the power of storytelling to heal, to inspire, and to remind us that even in our darkest hours, hope can still find its way in. See you in the next story, where love, resilience, and second chances come alive.